Hi, everybody, and welcome to our special episode when we talk about the vibrant Semana Santa and all the traditions here in Spain with my dear friend, Father Steven Rindahl and Abbey Algiers. Stephen is a pilgrim, a priest, and he's immersed in the spiritual aspect of this Semana Santa. He's been coming to Spain for many years, and Abbey is a seasoned pilgrim, a writer, and a passionate lover of Spanish tradition. So let me welcome and let's get into Semana Santa. Hi, both, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Hello, thank you.
Hello, great to be here.
So, one of the beautiful things of Semana Santa, last week I was in San Juan de Piedeport, 25 degrees, shorts, t-shirt, pilgrims coming from all over. They were like super hot. Everybody was like taking their clothes off. And suddenly, 2 days ago, of course, the rain came. That's a tradition in Spain. They said if you want rain, just get the pasos out, the parades, and that's what's going on today in Pamplona. The parade is being cancelled, and in many places all over Spain.
That's a bummer
So
for sure.
it is, but it is one of those things that is kind of like part of the tradition. It's kind of the fun. You never know what it's going to be because Easter changes with the years. One year is in March, can be later April. I don't know if you, Steve, can tell us why Easter moves around in the calendar.
Oh, well, I would love to just throw it off to the favorite theological excuse. It's a mystery, but actually, actually, it goes according to, and I can't give you the exact specifics. I probably ought to be able to, but I can't. But it's associating it with some of the earlier liturgical practices of the Jewish people and how, although not identically, because otherwise it would line up with Passover every year, and it only occasionally does. But it's the idea of a movable feast, and it's based on. If you give me a minute, I could look it up and give you an exact answer. But the bottom line is it's a movable feast based on a few
Thanks.
different factors. Yeah.
So let's go to the main reason of doing this podcast. As many Americans and many people from all over the world come to Spain during the whole year to walk the Camino, and a lot of them they come during Easter, and suddenly, some people know about these traditions, but others don't. And when they get to Spain, they see these on the streets, and it's quite an impact. And like it's something that a lot of people they are not aware. So why do you think uh, foreigners, and in this case, mostly Americans or people from the United States, Canada, they get so impressed about Easter in Spain?
Well, I would say that just the scale of the celebration. When in the United States, Easter, as far as a significant celebration, is restricted basically to the weekend, really Sunday. It's has been for all but the most devout. Really, its Christian origin and implications have been largely removed for the sake of a holiday that anybody and everybody can enjoy and participate in. The the resurrection's been replaced with a rabbit and eggs and eggs and candy all around. And so unless you're particularly devout, you don't even know that there's a Semana Santa, a Holy Week prior. And even if you do, there's only limited participation in the events. So to have these massive processions, these massive parades with clear Christian overtone message, the statuary that is carried, life-size representation of the members of the Holy Family and the saints, and most specifically, of course, Christ crucified, leading up to Good Friday. Yeah, it's something that's completely foreign to the American, at least.
And Abby, how was your first time here in Spain when you were here for Easter?
It was great. So I went to Zamora last year to experience the Semana Santa, but my first time for Easter was when I was 9 years old. I was here. We landed on Holy Saturday and experience Easter Sunday in Madrid. And so I remember bits and pieces of that. But then, like last year, experiencing the Holy Week in Zamora was amazing. And another impression that I had, why don't Americans, understand the processions and things like that in Spain? Our celebrations here are kind of, they're in the church. You would go to church to take part in the celebrations. Your entire town or village or city wouldn't take part in the processions. So that was something that impressed me last year when I went to Zamora. Everyone came out. I mean, it was just like, it was, 1 a.m, kids, all ages were there, like the entire city plus visitors. So that was just pretty amazing.
I think one of the things that even surprised me for me as a Spaniard is when non-religious people take part in these processions of these parades. Something that is so in our blood or DNA that is part of the family. That if you are part of a group of people that carry one of the of the figures of it's part of the musical band, it's so in you that even nowadays more people are not religious here in Spain or not going to church as often, but it's still Semana Santa is a huge. So if you want, I'm going to put one of the videos that I have here from Zamora and we can comment a little bit. And I would like to go and see, why do you think that some people have a lot of misconceptions? And I think that's when it gets, for me, funny. But I guess from people coming from abroad, it's just common to see misconceptions. And I guess everybody's going to know when we see the video. This is the Semana Santa in Zamora. As you can see, some of they're carried with on top of the carriers. Others are with like a scroll.
When I posted pictures from Zamora, I got comments on the hoods, because for Americans, they are rather jolting to see because, they're reminiscent of the KKK. And I wanted to dispel that myth that they, correct me if I'm wrong, but they represent kind of a penitent. You're covering your face as you would in confession. And it's kind of like a conversation between you and God. Is that why they're pointed towards the sky? Am I right in my interpretation of that?
I don't know if you, Steven, know the correct answer for why the pointy hats.
Yeah, I've heard a couple different explanations, and I'm not sure which is correct. But the one that I think is correct is that they actually have a connection to the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And so those that were deemed heretics would be put in the pointed hats as a way of signaling them in the community. These would be people who weren't charged with offenses that would be as significant as being killed for or something, but they were going to be publicly shamed. And so, like I said, I don't know that this is correct, but I think based on the explanation that I heard, it seems the most reasonable.
It makes sense.
Is that then that was taken afterwards as and then repurposed or reframed, so to speak, in we're going to accuse ourselves not of heresy but of these crimes against God, these whatever sins they are. And then the covering of the face is it is a private confession, part one. And then also it's an honor to be, so there's kind of a modern part two is that there's an honor to be involved in the procession and to be one of the people who are carrying. And so is the honor for you or is the honor for God? And so you do that task with anonymity.
And it's funny because a lot of places they don't have the pointy hats, and as we're gonna see, for example, on this one, look how different they can be. Some of the traditions. This one is a totally different look. The outfit.
Vivir la Semana Santa en Murcia es una
This is in
experiencia
Murcia.
inolvidable.
So
Ser
look
un
at
estilo
the
propio del siglo XVIII.
totally different than anywhere in Spain. And for example, in Pamplona, they don't even wear the pointy hats. It's just all the way down.
Do the different brotherhoods also have different colors, correct? And different
Yeah.
that could
So
be an
in
explanation as
Spain,
well.
there's like every little town have their different traditions. Here, for example, in Pamplona, you have a main brotherhood. There's La Hermandad de la Pasión, like the main one that runs everything. But then inside every statue, we call it paso, will have their own group of people that is the carriers. Here, for example, in my town, we have the Cristo Alzado. That one belongs to the city hall. And to be part of that, to be a carrier, it has to be passed from father to son. It's really, really, it's impossible to get in unless it's in your family. And here we can see in some other cities that the carriers, that's a big, big tradition and a big honor. We have this video, for example. This one is from a pilgrim, and this is dispelling. He's the one in front. So he's the one that has to tell the people inside, because they don't see anything, how to move in such a small street.
Right.
And that's passed from father to son to for ages.
Right. So each of those confraternities and organizations, they've selected their own colors, and from whatever historical background gave rise to it, whether it has to do with this city colors or maybe connection with religious order that is known for a color. And that all goes into the creation of the traditional um, robes and hoods and everything.
And we have to remember, you were talking at the beginning why the cover face, and some of the people this do this as a penance. Some people go barefoot. Some people they even walk with chains. There is even some traditions in places that people flagellate themselves while they are in procession. In Spain, you don't see those so often. I don't think there's few places that they still do it, but they were more in the old days.
In Zamora, there on I believe it was Holy Thursday, there was a procession where most of them were barefoot. I didn't see the chains, but that might be there too as well.
And what do you think is the most difficult thing, when you talk, you, Stephen, and you, Abby, you've been talking about Spain for ages to people. What do you think is the aspects that people find more difficult to grasp about these traditions?
You're talking about the Easter tradition here specifically, or Easter as a whole?
As a whole.
Okay. The there's an interesting aspect, right, as far as the Good Friday, right? We're in Good Friday right now. Well, you're at the end of it, but it's the middle of the day, later afternoon here, and there'll be services in churches all across the United States, and the sorry about that, I just kind of blanked out. There'll be services, throughout the United States and Canada and the whole Western Hemisphere, celebrating the death, right? Why do we even call it Good Friday, right? It's the
Yeah.
day that the day that Christ was crucified. That's anything but good, but it's not the we're not celebrating the death, but what the death brings us. The death brings life. And then of course we go into Holy Saturday tomorrow, which is sometimes considered the day of sacred silence. The day
Hmm.
that the day that the disciples were all hiding in the upper room while the women went to work. So that's maybe a lesson for people out there. And when they value uh, things based on gender, the women got up and went to work, and the men were all hiding in the upper room behind locked doors. And then on Sunday, the resurrection. And so this third day in the grave, the going again, the women went to the tomb to anoint the body, to do all of the things that were ceremonially required, but had been prohibited because come Friday night, when the body of Jesus was taken down from the cross, it was already too late. The Sabbath had started, so no work was allowed to be done, and so now they're basically playing catch up or attempting to on Saturday or Sunday morning, when they find that the tomb is empty. And the only thing there is the shroud, which we traditionally at least understand to be in Turin,
Hmm.
and the face cloth, which is known to be in the cathedral in Oviedo. And
Yeah.
if you haven't been to see it, you got to go see it because it's an amazing sight to see.
And this year both will be in Spain. I think the Turin will be in Murcia or in Caravaca for a couple of days. They are moving there for like a replica, like a really good version or something. But yeah, Oviedo is totally worth it. And you, Abby, what do you think, is the most challenging thing to kind of like explain to people from abroad when you write about these kind of like events?
I think it's just the fact that the entire week is such an event all across Spain. And it was just even, I knew this from my friends in Spain, and my parents had gone to Holy Week years ago. And I knew this, that it was a big deal. But until you're there, you just don't understand. If you're like in the middle of Zamora, every aspect of it was centered around the, Semana Pasada, or Semana, Holy Week.
Semana Santa. Yeah.
I'm mixing my Spanish, but everything was just all, focusing on that. And, it was almost like I compared it to, like when you're in college and you come home for Christmas and you see all your friends again. That's kind of how it was. And
Mhm.
in the towns, it's like adult kids come home and they see their friends, and you catch up with old friends, and it's just like this great sense of community, all centered around um the events. And it's just in the processions, it's just until you're there, it's hard to explain how
And
all.
also, I believe, things for me as a Spaniard is even hard. Spain is kind of like breaking two countries. One starts the holidays last week. So last Saturday, a lot from Madrid down, usually they are on holiday the whole week. And then in the north, we start holidays on this Thursday. And we have a whole week, kids won't go to college on the next week. But here also, Semana Santa in the south is so much happier, so much color, so much vibrant, as here in the north is so much sad, is darker, I think there's a big difference on that that tells a lot about the people in Spain, the different Spains that it's all in one.
And I would say the closest thing you can maybe tell an American is as far as trying to get them to understand the scale of all of the parades and the what you mentioned earlier, the fact that the people who are carrying these are part of a multi-generational continuity and family connection. The only thing that is somewhat comparative as far as the scale of it in that idea of a multi-generation continuity would be Mardi Gras in New Orleans,
Mhm.
Mhm.
which has nothing to do with uh, wholesome Christian activity.
Right.
uh, and I mean, it's scheduled large scale debauchery primarily, and so, but to be able to tell somebody, it's like, okay, it's that scale of an event, but it covers the entire country, and it's distinctly to point you to the story of the Passion of Christ,
Mhm.
and people would understand the scale perhaps, but not the motivation. Like, for it
I'm
to
gonna
be
put
that
one of the
extreme.
things, for me is one of the ones that I talk with Steve about this, and I always wanted to go here. I haven't had the time, and this is the Cristo los Legionarios from Malaga, and I think it's one of the things that represents, you know, how things like this can exist in a country that's. And let's watch the video.
Jose, how old is this video?
How old? I think this one is
Yeah.
from like 2 years or 3 years ago.
Okay. I didn't think the gentleman that's there in the front was there anymore.
Probably this is like one of the things, like as we're saying, being a carrier of this means a lot for the Legionarios.
Yeah. And the amount of strength that's required right there is amazing.
And this is one of the things, like even for Spaniards, that people go there for holiday just to watch this.
And one thing too, we've always talked about how it's a religious event, but not everyone is a practicing Catholic or deeply religious that goes there. Yet the amount of respect and just everyone
Mhm.
was there for this, whether they were religious or not. That's something I didn't understand before going. I thought everyone at the processions would, be devout Catholics, deeply religious, but there were when I asked people about it, they said, no, it's just it's more a spiritual event. I mean, it's a religious event, don't get me wrong. But I mean, the people there, it was a mix of everyone. It was just this incredible moment where everyone was just focused on this, regardless of their spiritual background.
I agree with you. I think it's, as a Spaniard, it's one of the few times during the year that people respect each other no matter what. I'm like, it's a tradition, it's beautiful. You may not like it, then you don't go. But if you are there, you respect it fully. We can go with the full fight. We can go to other Spanish traditions that are more, you know, not so everybody agrees on that. But this one, I guess more people, and you can tell that I'm like people from all over the world travel to Malaga just for this.
Yeah. Just a note on the uniforms of the Legion members. The the wide open shirt that's, I mean, it's only buttoned like the first one or two buttons at the bottom, and the whole rest of it is open. That goes back to uh, a person, and I read the history a long time ago, but basically opened his shirt to show his chest, to show that there was nothing guarding his heart, that he wasn't afraid of death.
Well,
And so
that's what the song says. Really, I'm like the song is I'm the boyfriend of death. That's what they're singing, and I'm
yeah,
going towards to fight the death. This is the most beautiful song the military have, and it's everybody. I'm like when you're a child, I'm like almost I will say 60%, 80% of Spaniards know this song. And let me put it back to the sound so you can hear. So in a way, it's a song of love to the death. It's just crazy, but that's what it is.
Wow.
So another question, can you serve for people that is coming to Spain and they don't know about this and they may feel, threat, or they may feel like, what is this going on? I'm like, I can imagine, if I go first time to a European country and I see all these guys in costumes, I will probably run away. But what will advice will you share with people that comes here that may be not religious but want to, take part of the processions, take part of the traditions, and be, you know, part of this Semana Santa in Spain?
I
the,
would
Javi,
the
what would you say as you've been part of the Semana Santa and you've been here many times?
I would tell people to not worry about it because as the people in the different villages and cities, the Spaniards are so welcoming, and I think they just love it when visitors are interested in the culture and what's going on. I was just embraced by the city of Zamora. Everyone, when they heard I was from out of town, from the United States visiting, they were amazing. And just that spirit of everyone is kind of together was felt everywhere I went. And really every time I come to Spain, that's why I love Spain. But I would just say, just go and see for yourself how you are embraced by Spaniards.
And
I'd agree. The going to Spain is one of the most welcoming experiences that a person can have. I've never had a bad experience in the now 8 trips now. So the reception that you receive is incredible. The only thing that I would say a person going specifically before Semana Santa is just say, you know, there is no connection to the clan. The clan stole that idea, that design. It predates, it has a good and wholesome history that is centuries and centuries older than its usage, that style's usage here in the States. So just get that out of the way right up front, and then go enjoy and put a little bit of effort forward and see how much goodwill comes right back to you, and how you're just brought into the celebration.
And Steve, as a priest, how do you think, people that is religious that may be now on a pilgrimage or they want to be in Spain during a pilgrimage, how they can prepare and live Easter as part of the pilgrimage?
Well, that's a great question, and it really goes into something I've been working on recently. And the idea of pilgrimage, you're starting in one place, you leave what you're familiar with, you undergo transformation, and you come out different, right? And that's the very shortest version of a pilgrimage definition as I can give. And if we look at specifically Easter, the Holy Week leading into it, Good Friday, the Sacred Silence on Saturday, and then Easter Sunday, it is death, burial, resurrection. It's Jesus left life, went through transformation, leaves the tomb glorified, and we're called to, as far as Christians are concerned, Jesus calls people to follow him, and it's in the words of baptism, to be buried with Christ and rise to new life. It is in a way the ultimate pilgrimage. And so to take that idea and say, what is it you're setting aside, and where is it that you are trying to come out the other side different, and kind of style your personal devotions towards that.
Mhm. And Abby, as a writer with such a keen interest in Spanish traditions, how do you approach your writing about Semana Santa to convey its cultural richness, the significance to your readers, particularly those unfamiliar with the Spanish culture?
I try to tell the stories of the people that I meet while there, because I know that someone can go online and find any bit of information they want about Semana Santa, but the fact is there's so many stories wrapped up in every Holy Week, and that's part of the magic too. It's just seeing the people come out and seeing how they experience it and how they come together with their families. I talked to some people who were taking part in the processions underneath one of the pasos. There's I think like 36 men underneath one of them, and he said that he had been, his mom or dad had put his name on a list to when he was born. The day he was born, he went on the list to be part of that procession, and that was the first year he was part of it. It's just those kind of stories that just show how important the week is to Spaniards. And I think those are the magical parts of it that make me want to go back and learn more and meet more people And just all the people behind it too, the cafes and the shops around, just everybody takes part. It's really amazing.
I think that's the most beautiful part, even for me. I haven't discovered probably 10% of Eastern Spain. I'm gonna put a short video. This one is closer here. You can see how different Easter's from one point to the other. And like the weather right now, it's raining in Spain. You have day parades, you have night parades, you have all different ones with music. It's just so different. Like some of these pasos are 1 ton, like 1,000 kilos or more than that.
And the pasos themselves too differ from village to village and town to town,
Yeah.
also kind of representing what the area is like. Is that
Mhm.
before I went last year, I talked to a priest from Holy Hill who actually is from um, Madrid, or the Madrid area. And he told me that the different regions or different areas of Spain, in the south, it's warmer. The weather is not, life isn't as hard in the south as it is in the north, where they deal with
Yes.
rain, cold, and you can kind of see it reflected in the pasos. And I only had that one, experience last year to refer to, but I'm anxious to hit some more Semana Santas and see if that is true.
Totally true. And there's things that's different. And like here we are seeing a normal procession, no? There is the normal ones, always the Virgin at night, going back to the home. The Virgin usually left 1 week earlier. The Christ, there's significant ones that they go all over Spain. But then we have things like this one that happens in Calenda. Calenda is one of the places that the drums are made, pretty famous, close to Zaragoza. And this one is called La Rompida de la Hora, the breaking of the hour. Look at this. So we can see, I'm going to stop it over there. Where you see the band over there, that's the band from the City Hall, but nobody else is playing. We'll see what is going to happen in a couple minutes. And as you were saying, Abby, 12 o'clock at night. Steven, why 12 o'clock at night? Why the Rompida de la Hora?
Oh, it's the breaking of the silence. It
Yes.
the you've hit, when you're in your Easter vigil, and everything is going, and I've mentioned it a couple of times now. You had this day of sacred silence, and all of a sudden you've hit the point where you can celebrate the Easter has arrived, and so you break the silence with this amazing crescendo. Watching
Look at
that
that. I'm
though,
like kids, older people. I'm like, everybody's there. People bleed. I'm like, their knuckles bleed just from hitting the drum. It's just crazy.
watching that though reminds me just how the different people join in. Reminds me, I mentioned to you before we got started that I'll be going to Lourdes in May, and I'm going to Lourdes for the International Military Pilgrimage, the uh, PMI, and it'll be about 20,000 or so service members from 40 different country militaries, and each one brings their band, and the bands will compete in the streets all day and all night.
Wow.
And
I
so
didn't know about
that'll
that
be
one.
what's that?
I'd never know about that one. I've been in Lourdes with many people, and I've been in Lourdes during the COVID, and it was empty, but didn't know about them. Look at this. I'm at the age of the people on the. Everybody's there. Everest with
Yeah.
the drum is such a family, such a tradition in Aragon. A lot of people belong to these bands. They call bandas de cornetas y tambores. So it's just the drums and the, I don't know how you say corneta in English.
Coronet, maybe, or
The
trumpet,
beep beep,
cornet.
close,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think this is one of the ones that is more different than anything else in Spain for Easter compared to other ones like the Christ of the Legionarios and some others.
Yeah, and for if you attend the Easter Vigil, though, there is a place for that to be in the liturgy. The tintintambre, and you'll have people bring noisemakers, and as you hit that point in the liturgy, you break into noise to celebrate that the resurrection has occurred.
And you, Abby, you've been here in Spain during Easter. Do you have any encounters or anything weird or strange that you find like a fellow American or someone that was like as surprised as they can be during this parades or processions?
Let me think. Sorry, nothing comes to mind right now, but when I came home and I talked to other people who had also experienced Holy Week, we did talk about just how powerful it was. Like just watching those drums right now, it kind of, it's very moving. It was really intense, especially at the last part. But being in the streets, just like it just overtakes you, and you get emotional. I mean, I was crying half the week just because the music and the drums were so intense. It just does something to you that you don't understand until you're there. It's amazing.
Totally. And how, looking ahead, how do you, both of you, envision the future of Semana Santa celebrations in this context of, cultural dynamics and globalization?
It's going to be interesting to me to see how much of it is able to uh, basically stay as it is, basically through momentum, um, be and a clinging to the tradition, whether or not the person or the people involved are still practicing the faith that
Mhm.
supports the tradition. The reality is, Spain, much like Europe, much like the United States, is experiencing fewer and fewer people who are active in their faith as far as involved in all of the different
Mhm.
celebrations and rituals and so on and so forth. But at the same time, this is just such an ingrained part of the culture. It seems like it'll be a while, you know, quite a bit longer than we might even try to
Mm.
estimate before it slows down just from the churchmanship side of, even though that undergirding of faith may not be as substantial as it has been previous years, and maybe even continue to diminish based on the changing trends of society. But yet at the same time, it's just so big. So then the question is, do you start repackaging it like we have repackaged Easter and Christmas here, so that it is more secularly palatable?
We'll see what time says. And what do you think, Abby?
Um, I, I hope that, with podcasts like this and YouTubes and things and just more people talking about it, I hope that inspires more people to look into it and to take part in it, and that kind of fuels it as well. The traditions of the Spaniards, but also I hope that the more it's talked about, the more the traditions are kept alive, and maybe just it inspires people in whatever way, spiritually in their lives to for their own life.
It's funny because one of the main kind of like commercials that the church has done here in Spain is like, look how big Jesus was, that even people that don't believe in him is going into parades and celebrating his life. And I think it was right on the dot. Like it is amazing because some even people that are non-believers still keep these traditions, and that's kind of like strange and weird at the same time.
And for
And
people to come together too, just to have that amount of people coming together is pretty incredible.
And if it motivates the person who hasn't been active in the faith for whatever reason to stop, even briefly, to say, what what was the background that created such a huge following, right? If it'll spark a couple questions, and then they are willing to ask those questions to people capable of answering, uh, to know, like, okay, we're parading these people around in the street. So who were they? What did they do? What did they stand for? Um, that's that's a there's some evangelistic value there that I think is probably either not tapped at all, or undervalued.
I agree with you. And to go back to what unites the three of us is the Camino. And I think this is like the last 100K of the Camino de Santiago that some people are like, oh, that's like sinful going just for 100K. I don't go call them the last 100K. They are the first 100K. So many people will go back. They will get back tomorrow. As you say, if someone gets to this and gets touched by, by the feeling, by the people, by the tradition, by the power of the music, the drums, or whatever it is that, resonates in your heart, I'm like, just for that is just beautiful, like the Camino. If you can go, for day two or just for hours or just listen to this podcast.
Yeah, go and get a small experience. Get a small experience that then opens you to the idea of, well, how can I do that even more?
Well, any last thoughts, Javi, about Easter that you want to share and to want to tell the people? Do you that have experienced Easter as almost half a Spaniard now because of your love to Spain, that
Right.
fully American pilgrim?
I would say I would just encourage people to check it out and see, just even if you're just watching this now for the first time, just planting the seed. Maybe this is something you could do, or watch some YouTubes about it, even just to see how people are getting together and take that sentiment and that spirit of just pausing and reflecting for a little bit, just thinking about the big picture. I guess it's a good, it's a positive experience, a positive message, and a great thing to do. So I'd say go to Spain regardless.
I think in that one we'll agree. Maybe next year we can do it live from Malaga and do this, watching the Cristo de los Legionarios, the three of us over there.
Oh, I would do that. Yes.
Yes, get us a nice platform to we can all be up there with our microphones in hand doing live commentary
Definitely.
as they pass by.
Like the
You know
Macy's
me,
Thanksgiving.
challenge accepted. I think we can try. Why not?
All
Okay,
right.
challenge accepted. Next year, for everyone listening here, Father Steven,
It's
Abby, and I will
April,
be live from Malaga.
Tune
it'll
in
be
next.
April 25, I think. April 20, April 25, somewhere
Yeah,
20th. I
one
think
year
it's
is
April
early
20th.
March, the next year is like late April, usually around that.
Yeah. So we got plenty of time to plan. Just
Excellent.
a year and a couple weeks to plan.
All right. Get your tickets, everyone. Get your.
Anyway, thank you so much to both of us for enlightening people about the beautiful Semana Santa and for sharing your love to Spain. I think for me, as a Spaniard, that's one of the things that doesn't stop to surprise me, how people from all over the world love sometimes our country and our traditions more than us. And that goes to the Camino de Santiago, to Easter, and to all of these little things that, sometimes we don't give, the value because they are here. And it's usually when you have closer, yeah, it's there. But thank you so much for, sharing the love, bringing people to Spain. And I hope that finally we can meet each other one day here.
Excellent.
That'll be
Thank you.
great.
And for the ones, the believers, thank you so much for following us. For the non-believers also, thank you for following. And tomorrow will be the big day for all of us. He's risen, indeed. So enjoy. And for the ones with the weekend, enjoy the weekend. And as always, buen camino, ultrella.
Buen camino.
Buen camino.